Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, looking at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Welcome back. This is Amber Garvin, and I'm here with my two co-hosts, Cindy Murray and Christen Hessler.
Hello.
Hey.
And this week is kind of a short topic that we're going to talk about. It's going to be pretty much bariatric surgery and then the struggles that people go through, especially if they don't have a lot of money, which, you know, I mean, at the time, I'll just come out, and I know I've said this in a past podcast, is that actually 3 years ago, this month, or last month really, 3 years ago, last month, I had the vertical sleeve bariatric surgery. And it was definitely, I had it right after my mom's death. And it was definitely a struggle in my life. I was going through some things financially afterwards. And so definitely I had the money to get through the surgery and the appointments and everything, but I didn't really think long term, especially struggling financially. I didn't really think long term how I would continue on this special diet that I had to be on post surgery with the protein shakes that are expensive and everything like that. Struggling financially because, I was married and I was pretty much the sole breadwinner of my family. And, I'm a teacher, so I know it's definitely post-surgery is a hard time for people, especially if you know what you're getting into, but you really don't know what you're getting into. And I want to say that was definitely probably one of the hardest times in my life, especially after my mom's death and moving and going through that surgery and everything.
I could see that because whenever you experience a death in the family, a lot of times people can turn to food as their comfort. And if you had that surgery, you can't turn to food as your comfort because you can't get that comfort that you desire after you've had bariatric surgery. The amount of food that you consume for the longest time is just these minimal tiny bite quantities of food.
Yes.
Yeah. And you don't get the same comfort foods because you're not, eating a pint of ice cream or having pie or eating, mashed potatoes and mac and cheese and stuff like that.
Yeah, and as we discussed in earlier podcast, we're binge eaters, especially me. So, and that was the first thing that I, wanted to do was comfort myself and binge eat. And I remember just laying in bed and crying, I just want to eat. And, no, what's nice about it is afterwards you don't eat for so long, you forget why you even wanted to eat.
Yeah, and that's the good thing about that. I mean, that's part of why that works. I mean,
they wouldn't release me from the hospital because I wouldn't eat. I literally had no desire to eat or drink for weeks. I just could care less.
Yeah. I got stuck at the hospital for a while because afterwards you have to drink a certain amount of water before they'll even let you get up out of bed and then walk around. And I'm sitting there struggling, crying, trying to drink this water, and the nurse keeps coming in, drink your water, you're supposed to drink one every 15 minutes or something, and I'm just I can't even get one down. So it took me 8 hours to drink the water that I was supposed to drink.
Yeah. Yeah, I know Mom was like, hurry up, I want to go home. Because she stayed with me in the hospital.
Yeah.
And,
I thought
didn't
she
want
was
to.
supposed to come home that morning or, like have the
Afternoon,
surgery and that
yeah.
afternoon go home. And it was like, nope, you're staying the night, girlfriend.
Yeah, I was too sedated. And then when I got home, I realized I just didn't have an appetite. It wasn't because of the discomfort or anything like that. I mean, I was in a lot of pain, but I just didn't have that
The
same
anesthesia,
desire.
the
Mine was the
anesthesia
discomfort.
halts your digestive system.
Mm-hmm.
So your part of your appetite is that you have certain chemicals that are released in your body, and if you've taken, if you take away part of your stomach, you're not getting
All of the ghrelin.
all of the ghrelin that you need that makes you hungry in the first place.
Yep.
So
But yeah, you were talking about bariatric on a budget and how it, having bariatric surgery, you save up all this money to have the surgery, and then you think, oh, okay, I'm going to save some money on my groceries because I'm not going to be eating as
buy
much.
all the broth and all the protein shakes because
Yeah.
you have to have a certain amount of protein.
The protein
per day
is
and-
expensive. I can tell you that before I had the surgery, probably one of the reasons why I had a weight problem was I wasn't eating healthy foods. I was eating ultra cheap food like ramen and macaroni and cheese. Those are two things that I could think of immediately off the top of my head that were common in my pantry. I had the 33-cent mac and cheese, and I would eat the whole box as my meal.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I would mix tuna in it, and eat half of it. Or I would eat, fish sticks, because you can get like a giant bag of 144 of them for like $4.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big portion of my regular diet, was eating super ultra cheap.
Yeah.
And it was very unhealthy. And once you have that surgery, you can't eat those things. The food that you have to
mac and
eat
cheese. You can't eat
is
ramen.
expensive. It's pure protein, like solid meat, cheese, dairy products, and then your fresh vegetables.
Yeah,
and
it's
stuff like that.
it's a struggle. Like, definitely, I do miss the cheap grocery shopping days because I try to get my protein in still 3 years later. And it's a struggle even doing that.
Yeah. So when I had the surgery, like you, I had a roommate. I was living with my brother Steven at the time. Actually, I was living with my roommate Crystal, and then I moved in with Steven. So, the way our living situation was, I cooked and he just ate whatever I made. So when it was just me and Steven, it was fine because he and I could eat the same thing every day. When you eat bariatric, you eat really small portions. And he was okay with the low carb, no carb. We didn't eat bread and stuff like that.
Yeah, he's not a picky eater at all.
Yeah, and he was just happy someone was, providing food so he could live his life, and not have to worry about cooking and stuff. So I would cook and make food, and it worked good, with Steven. I was still buying, regular groceries that I bought. I just was keeping it low carb and stuff.
Yeah.
And when Travis and Raina moved in with me, a lot of things changed.
Because
I really never changed my regular grocery shopping except for I was buying more fresh meat and things like that instead of mac and cheese, and ramen and cheap stuff like that to feed myself. I couldn't just eat a bowl of cereal for dinner anymore because I had, the bariatric surgery for one, and then I had two other people to, consider.
Yeah.
So, I'm cooking for a family now. So I really don't feel like there's any bariatric on a budget. It's more of like feeding my family on a budget.
Yeah.
But isn't it at the same time? I mean, because that's one of the things that I see, and that because you're having to cook for someone else too, and their diets were so far different from what you were eating, because they're, they were kind of single dad and child eating.
Yeah. I mean, they were literally eating things like ramen, hot dogs, mac
Fish
and
sticks.
cheese, and fish sticks. So it was like, oh, wait, here's this old...
all that's bad habit again.
Yeah, and having like the little bags of chips and stuff that Raina likes to have, oh my gosh, those are coming back into my life. So, here I am like trying to juggle my dietary needs, but also I don't want to enforce my strict meat and vegetable lifestyle on them because my daughter is not a huge vegetable eater. We struggle to get her to eat vegetables, and I could eat vegetables. And that's where I struggle with the bariatric, is that I could eat a giant plate of vegetables and be happy with a tiny piece of meat, whereas I probably need to swap it around and have just a couple bites of vegetables and just mostly meat.
See, I guess it's lucky. I mean, I don't know if it's lucky, but like on my end, it has completely changed the way that I eat now because vegetables, except for a few things, make me sick. So I mean, like the best thing the best thing that I can eat, is eggs. I eat eggs all the time because they feel the best on my stomach. But you're talking about feeding a family and everything like that, and they eat completely different than you. I actually had the opposite problem, like with my ex-husband. I didn't get really supported at all. Like, I couldn't eat, and then he would go and get like a big pizza and eat it in front of me, and stuff like that.
Well, and that happens with a lot of people, even just dieters.
Kind of diet,
it's a form of sabotage.
Yeah,
and sometimes it's done intentionally, and sometimes it's done without. It's more subconscious than that. They do it because
they feel restricted even when they're not being restricted.
Well, and because a lot of times they resent the change that you're bringing about in yourself because their fear is that when you are skinny and beautiful, then you're not going to want them anymore. You're not going to need them. And so they will, spouses, and this goes both sexes, that's why I said spouse, will sabotage their partner who is trying to lose weight or whatever. And, I've been a victim of that too, and like I say, it's not even always intentional. They don't even necessarily realize they're doing it, but that is the
right. And it's
outcome.
Not always because they're afraid you're going to leave them or something. I can definitely say that my poor dear husband, does feel that he suffers a little bit because I do try to make low carb meals. I do try to not have things like spaghetti one night and then mashed potatoes the next night and then stir fried rice the next night. Our main course is not revolving around the carbs.
Right.
Those are very minimal. Like I made sesame chicken in my Instapot, and I made white rice for Raina because that's one of her favorite foods. She will eat a giant plate of white rice. And that's where I have to incorporate carbs for her, because if I just serve meat and vegetables, she will only eat meat and it will do so much damage to her digestive system. Yeah. She has problems with getting constipated and stuff like that. So we have to give her the fiber and stuff like that from the breads and to help her even it out, because we struggle getting her to even eat a bite of vegetable.
That's where you should probably switch to the brown rice, though.
Yes,
because
so we try to make better choices, but my poor husband wants to eat pizza one night and hamburgers the next night and burritos the next night. And I say, no, we have to keep these meals as low carb as possible, because I am tempted. If we're having hamburgers, I sometimes will be tempted to eat one of the buns or something like that.
Well, and really, in all honesty, he shouldn't be eating those things either,
right?
Because he is diabetic.
He's diabetic,
and
has high
that's
cholesterol.
The struggle that we have, is that I'm trying to lightly add the low carb into his diet without making him feel like I'm forcing it.
Right.
Because although it is something that he needs, much as a lot of Americans need a low carb diet, because diabetes is rampant in America and obesity is one of the main causes of death. I still have to lightly add it.
Oh, right.
Gentle,
Right.
because I don't want him to feel like I'm forcing my dietary needs.
Mm-hmm.
So in that sense, the bariatric on a budget thing, I have the opposite problem. I still have to buy bread. I still have to buy rice. I still have chocolate milk in my fridge. And there's all these things that I buy on my grocery list that I don't even consume because I don't want to make my family eat the same bariatric
yours is more
meal
like
as
life
me.
on a budget.
Yes, it is. It really is. It's the family life on a budget. I still eat off of a larger plate at dinner time because it feels weird eating off of the little saucer plate at dinner.
I do the same.
When my kid sets the table, I'm not going to make her.
Went to the little saucer thing.
I don't have a small plates either. You know, with diabetics, they often say eat on a 9-inch plate. Well, I don't own any 9-inch plates, and I am not going to go out and buy all new dishes just so that I can eat a smaller portion. You know, so I've just learned to put those measure
half of your plate, measure it,
and make those portions smaller. And I guarantee you, if you measure and you're only eating the amount you're allowed to eat, your stomach is going to shrink to the point where that is all your stomach wants to eat, which you can attest to.
Yes, definitely.
And so, you know, as I have, because we do the HelloFresh, which I've mentioned in previous podcasts, the portion sizes are measured, you know, a specific size. And I've found that eating that there was plenty there, whereas before, on my own at home, I would have a huge chicken breast for my dinner. Now I get like a 4-inch cutlet or whatever, you know, or I mean a 4-ounce cutlet or whatever. And that is plenty. I am like totally full by the time I'm through eating.
Right.
And so I don't want more.
You know, that's funny that you mentioned HelloFresh because, you know, we also use HelloFresh. During the pandemic, at the very beginning, when all the lockdown, Travis and I decided to try that out. He was exploring learning how to cook and follow recipes. And I thought, hey, that's a really good way for him to try to learn how to cook because they give you all the ingredients and they tell you how to do it. Raina was actually living with her grandpa at the time because it all happened during spring break. And we thought, you know, the lockdown and the pandemic was going to be over in a couple of weeks. So we thought, oh, she'll just stay with him for a while. And so she was actually with him for several months. So my husband and I were doing HelloFresh for 2 people. And, you know, me being on a bariatric diet, he would take the meal and we would basically divide the HelloFresh meal because there's so much food on these plates. Like when they give you the pasta plate, it's this huge plate of pasta, like restaurant amount of food. And so we would actually divide it into thirds, you know, and a little bit more lopsided portions. So basically I would get my small bariatric portion and then we would make one for him for lunch and then he would have his dinner portion, which was basically a regular whole HelloFresh size, you know. And anytime there was meat where we could divide it out in that way, we did that. And what ended up happening when Raina came back, we didn't change the head count on our HelloFresh order. We actually just split it. So a lot of times when Raina and I will go out to eat, if she's not sure what she wants to eat, sometimes we'll just share something. And I can say that in that sense, sharing my portion does kind of help on the budget because, you know, I'm getting more than one meal out of any restaurant meal. Every time I go to a restaurant, I always have leftovers and I always end up taking, you know, several turns of eating those leftovers. I'm a leftover eater, so I don't mind.
And I'm not. Like, I feel like I waste if I eat out. You know, I waste
At first,
so much money.
I felt like it was a huge waste of money. When I first had the surgery, I would go to a restaurant and look at all the food on the plate and go, oh my God, I don't want to spend, you know, $16. I'm going to take like 4 bites.
Yeah.
Right.
And it felt like a waste. So I would order something that I wouldn't normally order. Kids' meals don't appeal to me because they're flavorless, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But I would get like something like an appetizer or something.
Or like I remember going to a restaurant and getting like I think it was bread Zeppelin and getting like just some shrimp, a side of shrimp.
Yes.
Well, and
I did that
something
at the
else
Asian
I
food.
wanted
I
to
got the chicken skewers at the
I
Chinese
wanted to
food.
point out to you. I know a lot of people who do that. They'll order like the chicken skewer.
Oh, but
appetizer,
those
whatever.
are so
But-
good.
But something I noted, and that our listeners might be interested in, was like buffets. So that is one of the
yes.
things that I've heard a lot of people with bariatric surgery
it's
are
so
like,
hard.
I don't want to go to a buffet and spend all that money
Or you can
when this is all I'm going to
still
eat.
go
But-
to a buffet.
Well, you can still go to a buffet, and that's what I wanted to point out. Kristen went to a buffet with us one time. One of our favorites is called Damasi's, and it is a Lebanese. It's Lebanese Mediterranean food.
Yeah.
So, lots and lots of meats, lots of fresh vegetables. It's really good food, and I don't know what the price for the meal is, but
$16.
yeah, it's something
Yeah.
like
It's
that.
higher price.
It's
than like
it's
a
higher
Chinese
price,
food
but it's
buffet.
really good buffet. And we went in and we had Kristen and Raina, and so we pointed out to them that Kristen had bariatric surgery. Would they sell her like a child's plate or something like that? And they said no, but what we'll do is we'll let both Kristen and Raina eat an adult portion. So they paid for
They gave
one.
us the kid meal for free, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 So
And I've done that with them also. I told them that same very thing, and they told me that, they were just like, well, you can just pay for one trip to the
Yeah.
buffet.
Some places
they've
will let you-
done,
some
they've
places will
done
do
that, and then a lot of times though I still do eat Damasi's, and there's one near where I live, and what I usually do is I'll just go and get buffet to go. Even
Yep.
if I'm eating with somebody, I'll get buffet to go and get it in the container already, and I'll eat a portion of it. I'll take it home. Now, I'd said I didn't like leftovers, but I will eat Chinese food buffet leftovers.
Well, and
Damasi's leftovers.
Well, and that's the thing about the buffet to go, because when you do the buffet to go, they give you the containers, and you can fill it as full as you want.
With whatever you
With
want.
whatever.
You can fill it up with just meat.
Right, and then you can take that home and use it. Whereas if you eat it off the regular plate, you cannot take that home. You can't put what's left in a doggy
Right.
bag and take it
I
home.
actually prefer, instead of buying a cheaper version of the buffet, I just buy the regular buffet price and I take it home. I
Right.
like getting the some places will weigh your food instead of give you a head price count or head count, whatever they call it, the regular per person
yeah,
cost.
it really depends.
I think the Damasi's does that.
Yeah.
Their
Yeah,
to-go
so
is
in
done
that
way.
one,
Damasi's will-
I've actually done it a lot cheaper, because even though I got to-go box and they gave me all these little different size containers for all the dips and hummus and stuff, I still ended up costing less getting like all of these containers filled to go than I would have actually eating
right
in the buffet. And I like that. I actually enjoy just taking it home with me. I'm not necessarily care to sit there and eat it. Now, I do that at Jason's Deli.
I was going to mention that one.
Because
Yeah.
I love their little salad bar. It's about $8.99 for the salad bar, and which is actually really cheap when you think about.
Is that
it
the
as a
all-you-can-eat
buffet.
salad bar, or is that the one-trip salad
They
bar?
just give you one trip. It's not really all you can.
No,
eat.
no, there is
You used to be able to do all you
There's
can eat.
two different ones.
Oh,
There's
I've
the all-you-can-
I've never done that. I've
Well,
just
if you
taken
get
one
it in the
trip.
to-go, if you get it in the to-go box, it's one trip. But if you get the salad bar, you can go back as many times
Oh,
as
I
you
never
want.
realized you could go back.
Oh, yes.
I always, even before surgery, I liked getting that salad bar because I like all of the things like the artichoke hearts and olives and stuff.
Yeah.
My salad
But-
is mostly salad.
But they actually do.
condiments, but
You can do.
I get that to go a lot.
But you
and
can
I'll
do
eat
that
it
one in
there.
that to-go box, and then you can take it all with
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
I eat it there, and then I end up taking it home. And if I don't pour the dressing all over the salad, then
It's
I can.
good.
Yeah, it's still good because it's just pickled things and vegetables and cheese and lettuce. And if they have meat there, like some of them have ham, I'll add that on it too. And there's usually eggs, and I get those. And an egg for bariatric surgery, you eat 2 boiled eggs, and you're like, "Bleh, I'm full."
Oh yeah.
So it goes a long ways.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I like doing that one too. And I haven't had bariatric surgery, but even I like to do that one. It's a good deal. So
It really is, and so is the buffet at Salada. I know I can get a small, or not buffet, the salad at Salada. I can get a small salad, and I don't have, I get the dressing separate, and it'll last me like
I like their
3
setup.
or
It's
4
like
days.
the Chipotle of salad. You
Yeah,
walk through the
I
line
mean,
and
I
get your
love
stuff
it. I
added
guess
to
I
it.
love
or
it.
Subway. Yeah. Yeah.
So going back to the main topic of it being on a budget, when you're talking about protein, getting that protein supplement, protein shakes is really like your main source of food on a bariatric meal
Those
plan.
are not cheap.
The pre-made shakes always cost. Think about things, the more convenient it is, the more expensive it's going to be.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
My recommendation for anybody trying to go for a protein shake, get the powder. It's worth the extra effort to put it in the blender and mix your own milk
Or just
water.
use the shaker balls. A lot of the
Yeah, the
a lot
shaker
of the
balls
things
are
have
fine
little
too.
shaker balls that
Yeah,
go in the.
it's just that effort of actually pouring the liquid into it and taking the scoop. It is so much cheaper. You get so much more protein. And there's some really good options on there. We'll link it on our Heard It on the podcast. My favorite of all favorite brands has been MRE Light. It's MRE like the military meals.
Yeah.
I forget what those are called. What is
Meals
it?
ready to eat.
Ready to eat, yeah. And they have a lot of awesome flavors. My favorite is the banana nut bread. It literally tastes like fresh banana nut bread. It's so good. And that one, my way to get myself to drink it, because the protein shakes that are already made and they come in a little container, you just put those little containers in the fridge and then you just grab one and shake it and drink it. That's the convenience. You're more likely to consume them. The problem is that they are expensive. Some of them are in the upwards of $5 a shake. And when you're talking about you need to consume at least 1 to 2 of those a day, it can be very expensive. It's more costly. It's almost the same as going out to eat at McDonald's for 2 of your meals. So the cost effectiveness, the switch off really isn't, because you're trading unhealthy foods for healthier options and more protein dense, nutrient dense things, which do cost
And
more.
you get a lot more than just protein out of those shakes too, which is another
your
important
vitamins,
reason to
essential
have those.
vitamins, and-
exactly.
Because a
That's
lot of
why
the
you
things that you're
consume them.
missing from your other foods,
Because
like
you can't
the vegetables.
eat all of those vegetables. I cannot eat enough vegetables every day to get what my human body needs.
Yeah.
5 to 6 cups or whatever.
5 to 7 servings a day.
Yeah. So I cannot consume that many in one day. So I have to drink the protein shakes.
And take the vitamins.
Yeah. So to me, what I do to help ensure that I do drink those, ensure, no pun intended. I actually, every night before bed, I take my little blender bottle. I use my little Ninja. But I take my scoop and I put my scoop in it and I put the blender lid on it and it's sitting right there next to the blender, ready to go. That way, all I have to do is pour the milk in it or the water and blend it. And then I drink it right out of that cup most of the time.
And that's what your dad does actually too. He doesn't do it on the blender, but he has a shaker bottle, and he preps his stuff the night before he goes to bed, and his powder's in the bottle, and then all he has to do is add the water.
That little
to it
effort at nighttime when you're more conscious of what you're doing keeps you from having to make those choices in the morning, because in the morning your brain is not ready to make those decisions, so you're more likely to
make a bad decision.
Yeah, I always prep my stuff in my meals at night before I go to bed, because if I wake up in the morning and I'm just like, okay, a protein bar, bye, I'm going to go to work.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm bad about that too, because I have to, I'm diabetic and I'm on a certain diet, so I have to eat within a certain time of getting up in the morning. And, if it's hard. And I went with the pre-bottled shakes for a while too. And I did the powdered ones, and it's just, I got lazy. So I bought the bottled ones, and then they got expensive, and I got tired of drinking them because it's just old.
There's not a lot of choices when you get those pre-boxed
and they're not
ones.
most of them are not very good.
Funny, after surgery, I could not stand the pre-made ones. Like
I got
couldn't
tired
drink
of them really quick.
I wanted to throw them up, and so I had to do the the Isopure protein
flavorless
the
one?
flavorless protein powder. And what I had to do was I had to mix it in soups. And that's the only way I could get my
wanted
protein.
The savory.
Yeah, that's the only way I could get my protein after surgery was mixing that stuff in soup. Right. Because
we made that mistake one time, and we mixed it in soup and heated it up in the microwave, and it turned into this weird soup.
Oh yeah, I've done that too. Well, yeah, I've definitely done that.
Don't
too.
do that.
Yeah.
Another way that I got the protein after surgery is I did have those protein, but I couldn't just drink them. I had to turn them into popsicles and eat them. That was the only way. But I mean, I can drink those now. Those taste okay to me now, and so does the protein powder. But after surgery, it was a real struggle getting protein because I just didn't want it.
Yeah. I think that, when we're talking about budgeting and stuff, there's a line there where you have to put an extra effort in planning.
Yeah.
Right.
Anything that has the word budget in it, that there's some type of planning involved, because when you say budget, you have a dollar amount outlined. When you think about being in a bariatric surgery, you have a protein amount that you have to meet every day. It's 90 grams, which is a lot more than the average human consumes in protein. Most people are lucky to get 40 grams depending on what they're eating. And so 90 is a lot, especially when you're talking about only taking a few bites every meal. But what I wanted to get at is that in order to be successful, the best thing to do is to plan ahead, have a good game plan, and think about what it is that you're going to do. It is really hard to feed yourself on the fly. Bariatric.
Oh, yeah, you can't do that.
Oh, yeah, no.
That's not, and that's not just for bariatric. I think that's for anyone trying to eat a healthy, health conscious diet. But
even on a budget too, because I mean, there's not a lot of fast food places that you can get something that's healthy, bariatric friendly.
Yeah, and even I know you think Starbucks, the sous vide egg bites. I mean, those are kind of bariatric friendly, but they still have a lot of carbohydrates.
They're not good on a budget.
It's not a budget friendly type thing. And if you're going to go to a Chick-fil-A or something, I mean, now Chick-fil-A has those grilled bites, but normally the first thing you'd think of would be a salad, and salads at a drive-through place are way more expensive than what you can make at home.
They're very expensive, and they often have, once you add the dressing on, a high caloric value and a lot of carbs.
Right. And you just, that's not being very budget mindful if you're depending on eating your proteins and getting your meals from fast food places. It's okay to do it on the fly every once in a while, but most budget friendly is to plan ahead. Carry protein in your bag with you for those moments when you need to eat, like having some little nuts. The best way to do that is going to the wholesale places like Winco and Sprouts
that have
where they have the bins and scoop out.
And then you can pre-portion them into the appropriate size portions.
I get those little tiny Ziploc bags
the snack
and
those
scoop
are wonderful.
Servings and put a million of those bags in.
Yeah, my husband does that too. So he's a big fan of the almonds. Take the little baggie of almonds with him, and that's really a great way to do it. And just be prepared. Know. Like she said, having the protein in your purse, because you're going to get trapped somewhere sometime.
And that's my biggest thing is that I'll get trapped somewhere. And especially when I was commuting 40 minutes.
Right. Well, and you can also, by the same standard, carry little containers with your protein powder in them with a protein shaker bottle, where all you have to do is add a bottle of water to it or whatever, and you can do that right there and shake it in the bottle, and the little wire ball helps mix everything up and break up all the chunks, and that's really good. So you can carry those with you and have those, have one in the car ready to go just in case of an emergency, because you don't have to have, you could have everything there in the car, like an emergency pack with the bottle, the shake mix in another little baggie, and then have a bottle of water that's,
And remember when we went to Vegas for Kristen's bachelorette party, I brought my own food to Vegas.
Yes,
like
you did.
all of my go snacks and protein drinks and protein powders. I had baggies of protein powder. Didn't they? Oh man, they took it out.
Oh, yeah,
they opened up my
At the airport.
luggage
You got
at the airport, and
washed.
they took out my little bags of protein powder, and they're like, "What is this?" I'm like, "Protein powder." But yeah, they searched my luggage because I carried a bunch of little baggies of protein powder to Vegas.
Yeah, that probably wasn't the smartest way to carry that.
No. Looking back on it, it was definitely not the best. I should have just taken the whole big container. I was trying to save room, okay?
Yeah. Oh. Well, I think we've given some good ideas there for
Yeah, so I want to hear from you guys. Join us on our blog, modernmusings.net. Join us on our Facebook group. Let us know, your dietary struggles on a budget, whether it's bariatric, low sugar, keto. Let us know. And if you have any tips that you want to give us, or if you want tips from us, send us an email, and we want to hear from you.
Our email is info@modernmusings.net.
Yep. Or you can just go right to the website
Yep, that
at
too.
modernmusings.net,
Yes.
and there's a link right there on the website.
So, guys, what do we have going on next week?
I think Christen is our hostess again.
Next week, we're talking about, it's another health
Yeah.
conscious one. We are talking about tips to drink more water.
Which definitely goes with this because
Today we're talking about getting more protein.
Yeah, 'cause, that's another thing that I struggle with is water.
It is
Oh, me
mine
too.
too. And it's been something that's been on my mind a lot over the years as I've become more aware of my health.
Yeah, and
So
we'll be talking about that
Looking
next
forward
week.
to that, too.
Yeah.
So, thanks to Red Door Studios.
Yeah, and Creative Audio Tech for our jingle and our equipment. We just love it, and we hope you guys love it also. Okay, have a good one.
see you next time.
Bye.